My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. This is the only channel dedicated to UFC picks and DraftKings lineups run by professional fighters and MMA insiders. Every week, I join Nick Newell, professional fighter, professional model, and ESPN Top 10 guest, along with Dan Kramer, UFC fighter, Bellator fighter, Ultimate Fighter alumni, and Jacob Lyons, a skinny kid from Indiana. And we break down every single fight, the betting odds, the DraftKings picks, and we set you up for success. Tonight, we're breaking down Fight Night Rozenstruik versus Gane. So for our main event of the evening, we have Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Ciryl Gane. There's no way I pronounced those names correctly.
Ciryl.
There's a Y and an L. I mean, the C is a S instead of a K. This is ridiculous.
So you just went to Ciryl?
Ciryl. Yeah, I'm very hungry. It's late. I'm not. I'm hungry. This is a banger, a literal banger. Two heavyweights that are absolutely going to throw bombs with sort of world-level Muay Thai striking abilities. This is a crazy fight, and this will be a ton of fun. This is exactly what fight nights are built for, fights like this. So, Nick, I'll go to you. How do you see this going in this striker versus striker matchup?
Jacob's going to get mad at me, but I love Rozenstruik's nickname, Biggie Boy. Biggie Boy. I don't know why. I think it's just a fun nickname. I'm like, what a fun nickname, Biggie Boy. And, you know, he's coming into this fight. If again, Jacob, if you go off physiques, then Ciryl is going to win all day. You know, he's got the more impressive physique. But I mean, you look at Rozenstruik, and he is a monster. They both knocked out Junior Dos Santos. That's not a knock against JDS. That's actually a compliment to them. JDS beat Derek Lewis not too long ago, and these guys both knocked him out. So, you know, it's tough. If you look in terms of prospect level, Gane has been amazing lately, knocking people out. I think he has a heel hook win. I know he has a heel hook win. And so it shows that he can grapple. Big Boy's going for leg locks. That's insane. And, you know, the upside is great. And then you look at Rozenstruik, his one knockout, basically Francis Ngannou closed his eyes and ran forward like a maniac and caught him with one punch and put him out. That could really happen to anyone with Francis Ngannou. I don't think it's a big it's a big tell on his skill. And you know, you look at the Overeem fight where he was getting dominated, but he didn't. I think Overeem has amazing ground and pound and actually very good submissions, and couldn't submit Rozenstruik. He got up and knocked him out. If I had to favor someone, I would, I mean, Rozenstruik has a better kickboxing record, but Gane, I would favor Gane, but I'm not confident enough that he can get it done. So I'm going to avoid this fight. I'll pick Gane to win just because I think that he can wrestle and kind of mix it up a little better than Rozenstruik, who will basically just strike. But I'm not touching it, even though it's a main event. It's 5 rounds. I mean, someone could get finished early, but I just don't know who it's going to be. But there we are.
And heavyweights are always tricky. So you always want to draft somebody in a main event when you can, because you have 5 rounds to work with instead of 3. But heavyweights are tricky because the odds of this going 5 rounds are very slim. And anytime you have 2 guys with this much power, there is no such thing as a guarantee. With that being said, I think Gane, I'm not even going to attempt the first name. I think Gane is the better striker. He does not have as much power as Rozenstruik does. He just doesn't. But I think he has the better movement, like his foot movement, his head movement. I think that's all better. And he definitely has the better grappling. We've seen him grapple. He knows how to grapple. He's willing to grapple. So if he does get into trouble, let's say in the first round, he can switch it up between rounds and come out and grapple and sort of dictate where the fight goes in the second. So I think Gane should win the fight because I think he's the better striker technically. He doesn't have as much power, but the better striker technically. He has the more well-rounded game. But I actually have Rozenstruik in my DraftKings lineup at $7,200 with that kind of power, and his only loss being basically a flash knockout to Ngannou. I couldn't pass that up. So he's in my lineup. I do think Gane wins the fight, but my DraftKings lineup and my $100 bet would go on Rozenstruik in this one. So Dan, what are your thoughts here? Are you going to split the same way I did, or you write straight line, have a winner and a lineup and a bet?
No, I think this is a tough one to call. I'm actually doing the same thing as Nick. This is probably the first time, I don't know, that I can remember that I don't have either of the main event fighters in my lineup. And just because I feel like it's a coin flip, and especially with heavyweights, anything can happen. But when I was watching tape on these guys, it's an interesting stylistic matchup, right? Because you've got, I believe it's pronounced Gane, but we can keep going with Gane. Gane, who's, a great kickboxer. They're both great kickboxers, but he moves like a lightweight. He switches stances. He's in and out. He's got great kicks to the legs and the body. Likes fighting from a distance, and he's so fast, then he explodes in range and lands big shots. So very athletic. He keeps his hands low, which most of the time at heavyweight that would worry me, but his reaction time is so good and his counters are so good that he's able to do that, or at least he has been so far. He's fighting a guy, though, in Rozenstruik, who is a very powerful striker, a great counter striker. That step back counter left hook is probably his best shot. He's got good leg kicks, also has a long kickboxing career. He's very patient with calculated aggression. So it's very interesting stylistically. So I'm not sure how this fight's going to go. I could see Gane fighting a smart fight, being in and out and picking him apart. But I could also see Rozenstruik landing a big shot on one of those exchanges and putting him away. So not going to touch it for DraftKings. If I were going to bet, I would definitely take the plus 225 odds on Rozenstruik. I think this line is a little too wide. So I think it's going to be a great fight. Rooting for Rozenstruik. Would put my money on him, but I don't have him in DraftKings right now.
Gotcha. So Jacob, what are your thoughts? Are you also not touching them in a main event? What's your move here?
Yeah, when I saw this matchup and I started looking into the fight, I knew immediately I was going to take whoever the underdog was in this fight. It's just so close. I was going to go with the underdog and just kind of hope and pray. So I put Rozenstruik in my lineup at $7,200, and then I started playing with my lineup. And I mentioned before, I've mentioned 100 times, I don't like the favorites in this. And then I started looking at their styles, man. You mentioned Rozenstruik is a kickboxer. Gane is a Muay Thai guy. These guys are very active when they fight. They're not the typical heavyweight sit, wait, one punch, sit. We saw it last week with Derek Lewis. They're both very powerful fighters, but they don't fight relying on their power. They're not just waiting for that one punch. So I think this can be an active fight. Rozenstruik went to a 5-round decision. Gane's gone to a 3-round decision. So I started looking at this fight, man. And I mentioned earlier that with the Pedro Munoz fight, that might be a fight that you double up the 3-rounder, where you don't normally do that. Normally you do not double up heavyweights, but I think if you were ever going to double up a heavyweight fight, it's a Muay Thai guy versus a kickboxer. I think they're both pointing, leg kick, punch, jab, keeping the distance. They can go cardio. They both went decisions before. So they both ended up in my lineup. I think Rozenstruik's going to win, but they both ended up in my lineup. I just didn't want my money anywhere else. I think it can go the distance, and they can both score points in the distance, in a distance fight.
That's not a bad pick, Jacob. I'll be honest. I thought about that too.
It's tough, man. With
tough. Heavyweights, you never know. But yeah, I would be more concerned about Rozenstruik landing the big power knockout and ending the fight early.
And I'll tell you why. Another reason why I did that was because this allows me to pick the 2 heavy favorites. We'll talk about it later, but I was comfortable enough in my underdog picks that I was comfortable losing in the main event. So I feel like my underdog picks are very, very good picks. I have my lock of the week, so that's guaranteed. So I feel like I'm going to be, 4-0 going into this fight, and it'll be my first loss. And if it's a flash loss with DraftKings, the way it levels out, nobody can pass me up. So if I win the fights come up to it and I have both fighters, I can't lose.
Yeah. The one thing too, Jacob, in your favor that's actually makes Rozenstruik a good pick is he's got a great chin. So to your point, over 5 rounds, they're both going to be kickboxing, right? They can both kickbox 5 rounds all day. They've been doing it their whole life. And he's got a good enough chin that, let's say he does lose a decision. For $7,200, you got 5 rounds to score points in what's going to be a kickboxing match that he could even potentially win. So not a bad pick, Jacob. I don't know about doubling up, but Rozenstruik, I'm with you.
Yeah, doubling up the main event when we have heavyweights sort of goes against conventional wisdom, but this is tricky. Either one of them could get stopped. It could go the distance. There's a lot of wild cards here, so we'll see what happens. Check out our full DraftKings breakdown video after this to see who ended up in whose lineup and what those lineups look like. Before you go, check out the description below. In there, we have links to our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, and more importantly, to our DraftKings League. Check out the league, join the league, participate in the contests, and as we get going and as you start winning, we're going to start handing out gift cards and participating and doing things like that. So check those out. Every week, there are drops on every fight card. So make sure you check out this channel and our social media on Saturday before the fights start so that you have our most updated lineups and picks.